Breathe in, exhale, settle yourselves in your seats. Fall into a nice, even rhythm with your breathing. As you exhale, you let all your concerns and worries go little by little with each breath. Breathe in peace. Breathe in harmony. Breathe out all negative emotion. Breathe in love. Breathe in hope. Breathe in joy. Breathe out sadness. As you continue to breathe, you relax more. Fall deeply into that space. That space within you where you are more aware of the divine. Where you hear the still small voice. The seat of all wisdom. Where the answers to all your questions reside. Let yourself be aware of that space. That feeling when you know that you are in complete alignment with the divine. And all else fades away. So just let yourself be. This is the secret place of the Most High. Our true home, our true north. This is where we know and become aware of our true essence, unique expressions of the divine. Unique expressions of the divine. When chaos ensues, we return here. When we forget who we are, we return here. to navigate the world, we return here. So just breathe and be, knowing that all is well and all is good because all is God. And now from this very sacred, peaceful place, this place of strength and power, we now sing our centering song. For those of you who don't know, Ernest Holmes is the founder of Religious Science, now known as Centers for Spiritual Living. And Centers for Spiritual Living is under the New Thought umbrella, which Unity is also under. And Raymond Charles Barker actually was a Unity minister until Ernest Holmes convinced him to come and open a church, a religious science church in New York in the mid-1940s. So they are the authors of this book. And this is a reading from December 7. A light is in every man, and I behold it. Let all mankind be thy sect. And that quote is from the Adi Granth, which is from Jupaji 28. M1, and I didn't know until this morning that the Jupaji is the foundational morning prayer and opening composition of the Sikhism Holy Scripture. Humanity is divinity made visible. We are good people in the sight of our Creator. Knowing this, I see my neighbor as a part of the divine plan for all. His ideas may not be mine, but they are right for him. I may not agree with the outer man, but I must agree with the inner one. In him is the spirit of truth, the need for self-expression and the vision of what he can become. This I respect, and this I value. I no longer try to make him in my image and likeness. I now realize that his individuality is of God, and I adjust my thinking to this premise. A light born of love burns within him, and I cross the bridge of human opinions and embrace him as a son of God. There is a goodness in my fellow man that needs my recognition. He is hungry for someone to see him as he really is. He needs my spiritual perception of his innate kindliness, and I now look for every slight indication of God in man and praise it. In the midst of him is the Spirit, and I now see its many modes of expression. I appreciate and bless everyone I know. Family, friends, and coworkers are God's means of peopling my world with love. No more need to be on guard. I lovingly and joyously accept every person as God made manifest. No one can harm me. No one can take from me any good. Others make me whole and loving. God in me reaches out to the highest and the best in everyone I know. Friendship and understanding await me in my home, my place of business, and the neighborhood where I live. People bless me, for they give me so much that I need. The hand of God is in every hand I clasp. I now see a beauty and a wholeness in everyone I know. No mistakes, no injustices, no more suspicions. I let God run his universe, and I let his law take care of all whom I know. I expect the best from my friends. I live in a friendly world, and all people are essentially good. There is light born of God within all people, and I expect this light to bless and benefit me. Today I release all human judgments. I behold the Christ in man. God is in me, so he is also in everyone I meet. You should see all your faces as I'm reading this one. You're all like what? Maybe I'm speaking on this next Sunday. Most of you are just incredulous. Like, everyone I meet? Really? Now our congregational song.
You-hoo. You-hoo. We here. Okay. This is from the Sermon on the Mount by Emmett Fox. Love Emmett Fox. And this is about the presence. If you truly live this life, then it does not in the least matter what your present circumstances may be or what difficulties you may have to struggle against. You will triumph over them all. You will make your demonstration. And not only will you make your own demonstration in the quickest possible time, but you will be, and in a very positive and literal sense, a healing and illuminating influence on all around you, and a blessing to the whole human race. You will be a blessing to men and women in remote places and times, men and women of whom you have never heard and who will never hear of you. A light of the world, in fact, startling and wonderful as that may sound. The state of your soul is always expressed in your outer conditions and in the intangible influence which you radiate at large. There is a cosmic law that nothing can permanently deny its own nature. I love that. Emerson said, "What you are shouts so loudly that I cannot hear what you say." In the Bible, the city always stands for consciousness, and the hill or mountain always means prayer or spiritual activity. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills from whence cometh my help. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. The soul that is built upon prayer cannot be hidden. It shines out brightly through the life that it lives. It speaks for itself, but in utter silence, and does much of its best work unconsciously. Its mere presence heals and blesses all around it without special effort. And the affirmation, if you'll say with me, please, 3 times. My soul is built upon prayer, and my presence heals and blesses all around it. My soul is built upon prayer, and my presence heals and blesses all around it. My soul is built upon prayer, and my presence heals and blesses all around it.
Thursday, I was on the treadmill, and next Sunday, I'm bringing the whip in the chair. It's just... So Thursday, I was on the treadmill, and I was thinking about days when I went to the gym all the time. I was personal training. Invariably, there would be somebody on the treadmill who was walking or running at breakneck speed with the incline real high, but they were holding on to the machine because they were unable to do what they were doing and have their arms by their side, or just to run by their own power and their steam, and to really be working at that level. So when I had clients, personal training clients who used to do that, I would back them off of that, because you're not really working at that level. You have to be able to do that with your own muscular strength. You have to be able to do it with your own endurance. And holding on takes the work away from you, and it allows you to do things that your body is not ready for. So really what needs to do with any kind of workout, and maybe with any kind of big change that you want to make, is to start small and then work up. And you start working out on a treadmill, for instance, at maybe a 2.0 speed, at a 0 incline. And then when you can handle that, then you move up to maybe a 2.2 or 2.3 speed. And maybe you, at some point, go to a 0.5 incline. But you do it all when your body is ready for it. When you have the endurance and the leg strength to handle that particular incline and speed, it's useless to go to a big change and not be able to handle it physically when you're working out, because you're not really doing it. You're fooling yourself that you are at that particular level. So I'd make them back off, and people were often shocked at what they could do with their own endurance and their own strength. That maybe they had to come down a whole point when they're working out. Maybe they can't do an incline with their own endurance and their own leg strength. And so it's a little humbling. But we should, I think, do what we can do at any level and then work up. So do things in small bursts. It is possible to have a big, huge leap of faith, but most of us, I believe, take little leaps of faith. And we start somewhere, wherever we are in our faith, and we work there, and we test our faith with whatever we have in the moment. No judgment about where we are, but work with that and then move up. Then move up as our faith increases. As we test and prove one thing, and then we can stretch a little bit and believe and have faith in something else. When I first started trusting my intuition, because I was told not to trust your inner self growing up. You trust God, but God forbid you trust your own voice. So when I started testing that after I got into New Thought, and I was beginning to learn that I could trust myself and that this intuition could be Spirit speaking to me, when I started to hear that, I thought, all right, let's see what happens. So my faith in my intuition was very small. I didn't have it. So when I started to hear it, and I had heard my intuition speak to me before, but I didn't trust it, and every single time I didn't trust it, something bad happened. And I would think back and said, well, something told me not to do that. And because I didn't trust it, I did it anyway, and something went in the ditch. And it might have been small, but then at times it got to bigger issues in my life. So I started testing with things like, take your umbrella. And the forecast didn't say it was going to rain, or the chance was slight, very, very slight. And I wouldn't take my umbrella, and then I'd get caught in a rainstorm. And I'd think, something told me to take the umbrella. So next time I heard take the umbrella, I took the umbrella. And I had the umbrella when it rained. So I thought, I'll trust something else. And I would hear, take the book that you're reading. I love to read, so I want to take a book everywhere, because if I have 5 minutes to read, I want to read, even if I'm at a traffic light. I have done that. Self-confession. So I heard, take your book to read. So I took my book, even though I had appointments stacked up all day long. And invariably, somebody would either say, I'm running late, or I can't meet with you today. And I would have an hour to read. An hour to read to somebody who loves to read is like a gift from the heavens. And so I would go someplace, get something to drink or something to eat, and read my book. Or just relax and enjoy that hour. And so I learned to trust my intuition. After that, it was about relationships. And I've talked about this before. Something would say to me, no, they look good on paper, but they're not the person for you. And in the past, I would date them anyway, and I would learn they were not the person for me. And then I started heeding that message. And then relationships just got better and better, because sometimes, people do look good on paper, and then in actuality, they are not. I had that experience with a mentor, and we had a great mentoring experience. And then she wanted to do business with me, and something said, don't do that. Man, it wasn't just one thing that said, don't do that. I had red flags waving all over creation, not to do that. And I did it anyway because I thought, it's my mentor. We had such a great mentoring experience. And it was hell. Hell, hell, hell. And all I could say was something told me not to do that. So small increments of faith. Small increments of faith. And so it went from, take your umbrella, something small and inconsequential, but big as far as learning about faith, to something bigger, like don't get into that work relationship with somebody that you had success with in some other area. Looks good on paper, not good in actuality. And the divine mind knows something that I don't know, and I can trust. And the biggest thing was intuition, was when my father was ill, and he was in the hospital, and we thought this was the end because the doctors were telling us any minute now, he doesn't want to be intubated. At any minute now, he could pass. He could stop breathing. And my father had a DNR. And everybody from around the country was going to see my father and pay their last respects. Everybody, and all I heard from my intuition was, don't go. Don't go. And I'm the good daughter. I always go. I always go. Something's wrong, I'm the one who they call. I have 2 siblings, but that didn't matter. I'm in the middle, not the youngest or the oldest. When something went wrong, they called me, and I was the one who would go. And this time, it said, don't go. But now, I've gone through these increments of faith. I've had greater faith with my intuition leading all the way up to that. And that took years, literally. At least 10 years. So I don't go. And I don't go until he's out of the ICU and he's in a regular room. And everybody else has gone home. And so I now show up when it seems like all the important stuff has happened. But I didn't know. I just trusted because now I can trust, because now I know what to trust, because I have built up my faith over time. And so when I show up, everybody else is gone. And I get to have 4 whole days with my father, 4 whole days with him, and no one else. Other than my mother, she would come in for half an hour in the morning, and I got him the rest of the day. And we sat and we talked. Other days, I just sat and watched him breathe because he was sleeping. Just incredible. And so after those 4 days, I went back to Dallas. We're thinking everything's okay, and the doctors are saying everything's good. His vital signs are great. He's probably coming home. Something told me inside, I don't think he's coming home, but I didn't know what was about to happen. The day after I returned back to Dallas, he passed away. And I had those 4 days with him that nobody else got. That's what my intuition did for me. That's what trusting did for me. All of those increments of growth, those small things that grew into bigger things, things that were highly consequential now for me. So I have 4 days of memories that I get to treasure the rest of my life. For the rest of my life. Because I was able to trust. If I had gotten that message 10 years prior, I would have gone immediately when they first called, and I would have missed that experience. Again, Spirit, God, divine mind, knew something I didn't know. But I had to grow in faith. I had to get to significant change in increments. In increments. I am used to wanting to take big leaps. I want to do it all in one jump. I'm a one-trip woman. When I go to the grocery store, I want to make one trip in the house. I don't care how many bags I have. I want to get them all in at once. I can't tell you how many bags I've dropped, how many things have broken or gotten messed up, or I used to have a dozen eggs. Now I probably got 6 good ones. Something would happen because I had to make the one trip. Now I don't anymore. It's not worth it. Because something always went wrong. Always, because I wasn't prepared. How am I going to carry in 20 bags? Somebody once said to me, a teacher said, the way we do one thing, we do everything. And I didn't believe her at first until I thought back about my life and how I do things. And I'm a one-leap woman, a one-trip woman. I just want it all now. But we get prepared in increments, in small steps. I've talked before about trusting, because usually, in my experience, we get one step. If you're trusting and you are seeking the divine, going back to that secret place of the Most High that I talked about in our opening meditation, if you're going there, then generally, yes, all the time, I get one step when I ask, what's next? What am I to do? What is mine to do right now? I get one thing. And then I do the one thing. It used to be that I want the whole enchilada. Again, I'm a one-plan woman. I want the whole plan now. God, give it all to me now so that I know, because you can't possibly know, God, and I can approve the plan before I start. One step is better. One step is less stressful. If I had seen my whole ministry journey when I first started, I would not be here now. I would not be here now. Because even though this is my greatest joy, one of my greatest joys, it is also my greatest challenge. Also my greatest challenge. I didn't know that most of the work that was going to happen is mine to do in ministry. It's not about coming here and speaking on Sundays. That's the easy part. The challenging part is growing me so that I'm prepared for what happens here on Sunday morning. And that I had to grow into over these almost 8 years in February. 8 years, February 1. I had to grow in increments to get there. Most of us have to grow in increments to get to significant change. Most of us, if we have a huge job to do, we can do it better if we think about it in increments. That whole how do you eat an elephant thing, one bite at a time. Every time I think about decluttering my garage, I don't do it because I know it's going to take me 2 months to get it done. However, if I think about one corner of a time, which I've started to do now, then I get it done. And I'm not daunted by the job. I'm not daunted by everything that's before me. Because there are times I've walked into that garage and thought, all right, I'm going to get to it, and I turned right around and came back out of that garage and said, not today, this isn't happening. Because all I can think about is I have to get the entire garage done today, in these hours that I have before me this day, not over a month. If you saw my garage, you would know. This is after decluttering and moving into the house we're in now. I already decluttered. Now it's time to declutter some more. We just emptied some other boxes. Time to declutter some more. I've already made countless trips to the Salvation Army. It's time for more trips to the Salvation Army. Small steps at a time. Are we willing to take small steps? Are we willing to see and grow and be where we are in one instance, in one day, in one moment, and get the richness that is there, and then move forward with the strength we gain in one place, and then move? Are we willing to do that? We live in a world that is fast and loud. Fast and loud. Are we willing to go within? Are you willing to go to that secret place of the Most High to find out the next step, the next increment? I've got this for you here, Spirit says. Are you willing to do this? And then we'll move on to step 2. Then we'll move on to step 3. And all the things that scare you about step 12 that you think you can see will not frighten you, because I will have prepared you from step 1 through 11. And then 12 looks so much different when you get there, because you trusted, and you went slowly, and you were open. Trusting the divine can turn things that are highly terrifying and daunting into the simplest, most graceful, most wonderful experiences. Because I was prepared those 4 days with my father, even though I surmise that he was probably going towards the end of his life. Again, we had conversations we had never had before. He talked about things with me he had never said to me before. That phenomenon they talk about when people do a kind of a resurgence of energy, and then maybe they go back over their lives and they start making peace with every single part of their lives. I witnessed that. I witnessed that. I would have missed that if I hadn't gone through all those increments of faith, those small things. And so these 4 days, when perhaps I could have been devastated, and there was a day where that was really difficult. And one day when he was sitting, he was really, I don't know that he was asleep or half conscious or not, because he wouldn't wake up for anybody coming in. He didn't want to eat. He didn't want to drink. When they shook him and tried to rouse him, he didn't wake up. He didn't respond. And I sat and I wept the whole day. The whole day I just sat and wept. But somehow there was something graceful, something wonderful, something sacred in those moments. In every tear that I cried, in every breath that he took, because I watched his chest rise and fall all day long. There was something sacred about all that, even though it was heartbreaking. I got to witness all of that. Significant change, but over probably at least 10 years. At least 10 years. We don't know what's coming up. We don't know what we're being prepared for. We don't know what the significant change is, and we've all had significant change. But now my change, my transformations, all the seasons of my life, I manage with so much more grace and ease now that I trust the steps along the way, the increments. It slows down the process. It lengthens the moments. It allows you to process and feel and to know God and to see God in those moments. To trust at every level. To be at one level and to be able to be perfectly at peace and at rest with what's happening. And knowing that months ago or a year ago, you could not have handled that same thing with the same level of trust. I have those moments all the time where I think a year ago that would have freaked me out. A year ago, I would have run in the other direction. There are days when I've said, a week ago, I would have run in the other direction. Because if you're really paying attention, if you're really trusting, you notice increments daily. I'm stronger today than I was yesterday. I have more clarity today than I did yesterday because I'm trusting every moment. And every moment I see is a moment of trust, of growing in spirit and spirit in me. And it just gets better. And it just gets better. And you run into the tough times, the really, really tough times that take you to your knees, you're okay. Again, like we talked before, maybe not happy about what's happening, but you know you're okay. You can say, I'm still here and I'm good. I'm still here and I'm good. How many times have you hit a really, really tough thing in life? And it would have been nice to feel I'm here and I'm good. This is tough and this is challenging, but I'm still here and I am good. Maybe, again, with tears streaming down your face, I'm here and I'm good. Because God is here. God is here. God is in all of this. God is in the midst. Again, when we work through increments, things slow down, and we can see what we need to see, feel what we need to feel, and know that God is in our midst. And everything becomes a holy moment, whether we're challenged or not. Everything becomes holy. Everything can become holy. Let's take this in a meditation. Let's take a deep breath. Most, if not all of us, have something right now where we've said, good God, why this? Why me? Why now? What is that thing? And how can you slow down the process? How can you break down that elephant into small bites? How can you start to trust on a minute level right now? If you can't trust that the whole thing can be reconciled, can you trust in something minute in that situation? Maybe it's to begin to trust that God is in the midst of this thing. Maybe it's beginning to trust that you have whatever it is you need to deal with whatever it is. Maybe the increment is trusting that this too shall pass. Maybe the increment right now is trusting that even though I can't call it good, I can call it good for me if I trust. Maybe the increment is trusting that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and it is not a train. That it is the light of God calling you forward step by step. Laying before you treasure at your feet with each step. Are you willing to be still and trust that we can surrender the whole? And step forward with the one thing we can do now that has been presented to us. The one small step that we can handle in this moment. So that when it's all said and done, we realize we are at the top of the mountain. And we scaled it one step at a time. Are we willing to slow down and trust the journey laid before us? Are we willing to see the grace in each moment, in each step? Are we willing to accept the gift in the present moment without knowing what the full plan is? Without having it all worked out in our heads, knowing that the divine knows all things and has our highest and best ready for us if we will only trust. What can you unburden yourself with now? What can you surrender now? What are you willing to surrender right now? Perhaps the first increment is to surrender. loosen the tight grip you have on whatever it is you're grappling with, and open your arms wide to the divine and infinite possibility. Are you willing to let go of your own vision in favor of divine vision, divine intelligence, divine love? Let's just take a moment to breathe and be and listen to our heart speak. So it is, and so it shall be. Amen.